Really? Has she no sense of decency? So picky with her food. It's not like it's going to kill her or anything.
So cold!
The pocket warmers are helping, but still.
Not having anything to do should be a treat, but in this weather it's torture. That wind is freezing.
Hey guys, welcome back to Anime Sensei Reaction. Last episode continued showing just how dangerous and unpredictable life inside the rear palace really is. Mao Mao once again used her medical knowledge and sharp instincts to solve another troubling incident, while Jinshi kept finding excuses to involve her in palace affairs. We also saw more hints about the hidden power struggles between servants, officials, and the emperor's consorts, especially around Lady Gyokuyu's position in the Jade Pavilion. One thing I really enjoy is how Mao Mao notices tiny details that everyone else ignores, whether it's poison symptoms, suspicious behavior, or hidden motives. It feels like every case reveals another layer of corruption or secrecy inside the court. Going into episode 6, I'm expecting the stakes to rise even more, especially if Mao Mao keeps attracting attention with her intelligence. I also feel like Jinshi may finally reveal more about why he trusts Mao Mao so much. Let's get into today's episode.
Seriously? Set up the pavilion already? It's almost like this was arranged to encourage rivalry between the concubines.
Look, that's the Empress Dowager.
She looks incredibly young.
That's because she is. You know, she had the Emperor when she was just...
She must have worked hard to bear him.
The Empress actually has 2 children. Of course, there's the Emperor and his younger brother who should be there. I heard all kinds of rumors about him, like how he has a weak constitution and rarely ever leaves his chambers. I thought he was here just a few moments ago, but he must have left.
Seems so.
Huh? How dare you call us boring! Ladies in waiting serve their mistresses! Why would we dress more extravagantly than her?
Such a stupid question.
So you don't want to look your best? That reflects poorly on your mistress.
Lady Lihua. Those are her ladies.
Oh my, by the looks of it, Inghua went and got us involved in a proxy war. We'd better go and back her up.
Still, not like it'd help that ugly girl out. No dress would.
Hold on. Does she mean me?
You're embarrassing your...
The freezing wind swept through the imperial palace like an invisible blade, slipping beneath layered robes and rustling the silk curtains that framed the enormous courtyard. Even the lantern flames trembled beneath the pressure of the winter air, yet the grand banquet continued in full splendor as though the cold itself had no authority within those walls. Musicians played elegant melodies from the edges of the gathering while dancers moved with careful grace across polished stone, their sleeves flowing like drifting clouds beneath the golden lights. Noble officials exchanged polite smiles that barely concealed hidden ambitions, military officers stood with rigid pride, and the emperor's favored consorts occupied their places like living symbols of power. Every laugh sounded measured, every glance carried meaning, and every movement within the palace seemed tied to some invisible current of politics and rivalry. Behind Gyokuyu's seat, Mao Mao stood quietly among the attendants, her expression calm even as her sharp eyes absorbed every detail around her. Beside her, Gyokuen leaned slightly closer and subtly gestured toward a beautiful woman seated nearby while holding a young princess in her arms. Her voice lowered almost to a whisper as she revealed the woman's identity. That was the Empress Dowager. Mao Mao blinked in surprise the moment she looked at her properly. The title alone had made her imagine someone far older, yet the woman appeared astonishingly young. Her elegance carried maturity, but her face still retained traces of youth that seemed almost unnatural for someone who already had a grown son ruling the empire. Gyokuin explained the reason calmly. The Empress Dowager had given birth to the current emperor while she herself had barely reached adulthood. Once Mao Mao heard that explanation, the mystery disappeared, but the revelation left behind a far heavier feeling. For a brief moment, the cold surrounding the banquet no longer seemed important. Mao Mao instead imagined what kind of life that woman must have endured. Bearing a child while still little more than a child herself. Living inside the suffocating politics of the imperial court at such an age. The glamorous appearance of the banquet suddenly felt thinner, almost fragile, compared to the cruel reality hidden beneath it. Gyokuin continued speaking, casually adding another piece of information that immediately captured Mao Mao's attention.
Yourself hiring someone like her.
You take that back now. Calm down, please.
They really haven't noticed me? And after all the fun we had at the Crystal Pavilion.
If you insist on acting up, I'll have no choice but to tell my father about you.
Well then, I'll have to do things to you you'd never tell him.
Stay away from me!
Huh? It was just some off-color courtesan humor.
Apologize for Mao Mao resistance! Oh, now all of a sudden you have nothing to say?
I'm done. Yes, I think we made our point. We ought to be leaving now. You should be thanking me.
What's her deal anyway? Hey, don't listen to those bullies. I mean, just look at how adorable you are.
Oh, I don't care. That aside, it's about time to switch out your pocket warmers.
Aww. Not only did she grow up in poverty, her fear of men drove her to disfigure her own face.
And for 2 long months, she endured relentless bullying at the Crystal Pavilion. Yet she refuses to complain, and instead looks after us. I see why Master Jinshi has taken her under his wing. She's so deserving!
There they go, being delusional again.
Have you no decency? That's the color you decided to wear?
Watch out. Another proxy war.
The virtuous and pure consort servants, they don't get along either. The former is 14 and arrived at the palace later, while the pure consort is 35 and has been here the longest. So they're at each other's throats. Also, they used to be daughter and mother-in-law.
How's that possible?
Actually...
The emperor, apparently, was not the Empress Dowager's only son. He also had a younger brother. Mao Mao's gaze followed toward a carefully prepared seat that remained empty despite the gathering already being well underway. That place belonged to the emperor's younger brother. However, according to Gyokuin, the prince was frail and rarely left his chambers due to poor health. His absence tonight was therefore unsurprising. Even so, the existence of another imperial prince immediately complicated the image Mao Mao had formed of the palace hierarchy. In a place where succession, bloodlines, and influence determined survival, even a sickly younger brother could become an important figure. The information quietly settled into Mao Mao's thoughts while the banquet around her continued to glitter with artificial warmth. Before she could think further, sharp voices suddenly interrupted the elegant atmosphere nearby. 2 groups of attendants had begun arguing. The conflict was restrained enough to avoid openly disturbing the banquet, yet their hostility was obvious. One group served Lehua, while the other belonged to Gyokuyu. At first glance, the argument seemed petty. Lihua's maids criticized the appearance of Gyokuyu's attendants, mocking their clothing and implying that poorly presented servants reflected badly upon their mistress. The insults were polished with courtly language, but the contempt beneath them was unmistakable. Gyokuyu's attendants responded immediately. To them, loyalty and competence mattered more than decorative appearance. A servant existed to support her mistress, not to compete in beauty contests like ornamental dolls. Mao Mao listened quietly from the side until she gradually realized something rather embarrassing. The maids from Lihua's pavilion did not recognize her at all. Despite having spent 2 entire months caring for Lehua during her illness, Despite working closely alongside those same attendants every single day, none of them noticed who she was. They simply assumed she was some plain-looking servant who had likely been abandoned in the background because of her unimpressive appearance. A faint bitterness briefly surfaced inside her chest. It was not anger. Mao rarely cared enough about appearances for anger. But there was still disappointment in realizing how little impression she had left on the people she had once helped so extensively. Her face, her presence, even her efforts had apparently
Get a little bit complicated. In the past, one was the previous emperor's concubine, and while that was going on, the other served the former crown prince. However, as you already know, the old ruler passed away. Afterwards, the late emperor's consort left the palace briefly, but returned and took on the role as the current emperor's concubine.
If he died 5 years ago and my math's right, then concubine Audril would have been about 30 years old at the time, whereas the virtuous consort wasn't even quite 10 years old. That's all politics, but a consort at that age?
Unbelievable, right? 9 years old and a mother-in-law.
9 years old. Mother.
What? Acid?
Mm-hmm.
Then the previous emperor's concubine was Lady Li Xiu?
So she's the mother-in-law?
Takes you by surprise, right? I mean, Lady Li Xiu is still practically a child.
I kind of noticed. Usually, white would be an appropriate color for the virtuous consort's gown. But that dark pink color, it certainly clashes with Lady Gyokyo, the precious consort. Maybe she doesn't know how to read the room?
Thank you. Those warmers, they did the trick.
Sure.
It's freezing.
You can try holding these if you're cold. Here. Here.
You're always considerate. After the way they treated you, you still offered them all warmers.
blended so thoroughly into the background that she had Biko me invisible the moment she left the Crystal Pavilion. In contrast, Gyokuyu's attendants reacted with immediate outrage on her behalf. Their expressions tightened as they heard the insults aimed toward Mao. Some looked genuinely offended, as though someone had insulted one of their own family members. Mao, however, dealt with the situation in her own bizarre way. Without warning, she partially covered her face with one hand and twisted her expression into something unsettling, allowing the shadows of the lanterns to exaggerate her features. Combined with her naturally unusual eyes and emotionless stare, the result became genuinely terrifying. The reaction was immediate. The maids from Liwa's side recoiled as though confronted by a ghost. Their confidence shattered instantly, and they stumbled backward in visible fear before hurriedly retreating from the scene while trying to maintain what little dignity they still possessed. Once they disappeared, Gyokuyu's attendants surrounded Mao again, though now their emotions had shifted in an entirely different direction. Rather than laughing at what had happened, they suddenly began pitying her. In their minds, Mao had apparently endured months of mistreatment at the Crystal Pavilion while silently hiding her suffering to avoid worrying everyone else. Their imaginations rapidly transformed her into a tragic heroine who had tolerated cruelty in silence. Mao found herself almost speechless listening to their dramatic conclusions. The reality had been nowhere near so tragic. Yet the more they talked, the more convinced they became that Jinshi's unusual interest in Mao must have originated from his sympathy toward her difficult experiences. Mao could only think that they were overcomplicating everything beyond reason. Unfortunately, the banquet seemed determined not to allow peace for long. Elsewhere in the courtyard, another argument erupted between two separate groups of attendants. This time the hostility existed between the maids serving Li Xiu and those belonging to Duo. The tension between the two sides felt even heavier than the earlier dispute. Unlike simple rivalry between pavilions, This conflict carried layers of discomfort rooted deep within the palace's twisted history. Li Shu herself was only 14 years old, still carrying the innocence and immaturity of youth despite her position.
And getting Lady Gyokyo's permission too.
You know... A hairpin?
Yep. See? That's how they recruit the most exceptional workers here in the flower garden. But between us, it has another hidden meaning.
Interesting.
Excuse me, I'm trying to gossip with you over here.
A secret.
Pardon me, miss. I'd like you to have this.
Guess he's handing them out to everyone, and doesn't want any servant left out. Thanks.
Sure. My name's Lee Haku. A pleasure.
Big dog energy.
Woof woof. What'd he just give you? Let me see.
A participation award.
I believe you deserve more. It's been some time.
Indeed, my lady.
I suppose that's all for today. My lady! We'll take our leave. Have a pleasant day.
Our mistress won't like this. That's an understatement if I've heard one.
So, what will you do?
Gaoshun looks pretty good there. I guess he's a higher rank than I thought. He doesn't look out of place among the soldiers, either. Hey, it's that officer. They've got him seated
As a high-ranking consort. Ah Duo, meanwhile, had already reached 35. Calm, composed, and experienced, she radiated the quiet authority of someone who had survived countless political storms. The enormous age difference alone created distance between them, but the truth behind their relationship was far stranger. As Mao listened more carefully, Gyokuin explained that the two women had once technically shared a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law connection. The explanation sounded absurd enough to make Mao genuinely question whether she had heard correctly. Gyokuin patiently clarified the matter. After the former emperor died 5 years earlier, consorts who had failed to bear him children were required to leave the palace and become nuns. However, should they later return, they could potentially become wives of the current emperor. That bizarre system had created a deeply uncomfortable situation. Ah Duo, who had been 30 at the time, became entangled within a political structure involving Li Shu, who had originally served as one of the previous emperor's consorts despite being only a child. Technically speaking, Li Shu had once occupied the position of Ah Duo's mother-in-law despite being young enough to still play with dolls. The sheer absurdity of the arrangement nearly left Mao stunned. Within the palace, titles and political convenience mattered more than natural human relationships. Age, emotions, and common sense all became distorted beneath the demands of imperial tradition. Listening to the explanation made Mao feel once again that the palace was less a home for human beings and more a machine designed to twist lives into unnatural shapes. As the evening progressed, Mao's attention drifted toward the visual patterns surrounding each high-ranking consort. Gyokuyu's attendants wore deep red shades decorated with jade ornaments. Liwa's side favored cool blue colors paired with crystal accessories. Ah Duo's attendants displayed darker purple tones alongside garnet jewelry, perfectly matching the elegant atmosphere of her residence. From those observations, Mao naturally concluded that Li Shu's symbolic color should be white. Yet when she looked toward the young consort herself, she noticed something strange. Li Shu wore vibrant pink robes strikingly similar to Gyokuyu's color palette. The choice immediately stood out to Mao as a sign of immaturity and
at the very edge, but still impressive given his age. I don't see our sparkly eunuch anywhere, but who cares? clouding on contact with the metal. No issue with the smell. But a food taster's job isn't done until the cup is empty. Now to rinse out my mouth with water. Huh? All tasters are expendable, but there's a difference between me and them. I'm probably the only one that enjoys eating poison. You know it would be good right now if someone snuck pufferfish guts into the soup. A lovely stinging sensation on the tongue. There's nothing else like it. Focus. The Emperor loves this vinegar fish and vegetable dish. I saw it a few times at the Rear Palace. Usually it includes blueback, but today it's jellyfish. The cook responsible for preparing the food would never mistake the Emperor's favorite ingredient. Lady Gyokyo has no prominent likes or dislikes either. Apparently the server messed up. Guess she's not a fan of the fish. But the consort can't refuse to eat it. Not in front of the Emperor. Wish I hadn't seen that.
Poor awareness. Whether intentional or accidental, copying colors so close to another high-ranking consort's identity could easily create FR. Iction, but perhaps Li Shu was still too young to understand the subtleties of such matters. Soon afterward, another custom of the banquet caught Mao Mao's attention. Certain individuals were receiving ornamental hairpins from officials and nobles. Gyokuin casually explained that these hairpins served as symbols of recognition or recruitment during gatherings like this. Talented individuals could attract sponsors or influential supporters through such gifts. Apparently, there was another hidden meaning behind the practice as well. Mao Mao instantly lost interest the moment she sensed romantic implications might be involved. Not long later, a military officer approached her directly and handed her a hairpin of his own. Mao Mao immediately noticed that his belt already carried several empty spaces where other ornaments had likely been stored earlier. It became obvious he was distributing hairpins widely to avoid embarrassing anyone by singling out specific women. The officer introduced himself as Lihaku. Something about him reminded Mao Mao of an overly loyal dog. He possessed a straightforward honesty rare within the palace, though his enthusiasm occasionally bordered on clumsy. To Mao Mao's mild surprise, Lihua herself later presented her with another hairpin. That action immediately drew attention from the surrounding attendants. Some of Gyokuyu's maids worried the gesture might offend their own mistress or create unnecessary misunderstandings between the consorts. Mao Mao, meanwhile, cared very little about such political implications. Instead, she soon took over Hongnang's responsibilities as a food taster, placing herself in a position where she could observe the entire banquet more clearly. From there, the structure of the gathering became easier to understand. Military officials occupied the western side of the hall while civil officials gathered to the east. Among the military officers, Mao Mao spotted Gao Shen. Judging by his placement, his status appeared far higher than she had originally assumed. Lihaku stood farther back among the younger officers, though his age suggested promising potential for the future. Yet despite scanning the crowd repeatedly, Mao Mao failed to locate Jinshi anywhere. That
Hey, Lihaku. One of the food tasters is really digging in. You may enjoy watching someone eat while terrified, but I have different ideas of fun. Come on, just take a look. Wait, I know that girl. I met her earlier. Wow, It must be quite delicious.
This is poison.
The consort soup was tainted? Poison? Are you sure?
Concubine Kyokyo!
The taster swallowed it.
Minister, what are you doing?
Formal attire's too tight.
Help! The minister drank the soup and collapsed!
Did she? Found you.
Master Jinshi, what a beautiful day.
Yours seems better than mine.
Oh no, I got excited about the poison and I smiled at him. What exactly are you doing right now?
Getting you a doctor.
I coughed up the poison already, but really, I'm feeling all right. At least I can dream about digesting it. On the ground, incapacitated, the toxin coursing through my body. Master Jinshi, I was wondering,
Yes, what?
could I please have the rest of the soup?
Since lingered strangely in her thoughts. Her duties soon began. The first item presented for testing was wine. Mao carefully examined the liquid, observing its clarity and scent. Nothing appeared unusual. Still, appearances alone meant little when poison was involved. Without hesitation, she drank the entire cup. Unlike most food tasters who approached their work with terror, Mao experienced something dangerously close to excitement. The possibility of poison fascinated her. Rather than fear the unknown substances that might enter her body, she found herself curious about them. Her mind even drifted toward thoughts of rare toxins like pufferfish poison and how interesting it would be to study their effects directly. Next came a dish consisting of sliced fish and vegetables. The preparation itself looked ordinary enough, though Mao noticed the fish had been replaced with jellyfish instead of the more commonly used mackerel. Since the emperor favored the dish, she doubted the cooks would make careless mistakes during preparation. If a problem existed, it likely originated elsewhere. Perhaps the wrong serving had been delivered to the wrong table. While continuing her observations, Mao suddenly noticed something unsettling. Li Shu appeared deeply uncomfortable while eating. Her expression tightened every time she forced herself to swallow another bite. It did not resemble simple dislike alone. There was visible strain behind her eyes, as though her body itself rejected the food. Yet because she sat before the emperor, refusing the dish outright was not an option. More concerning than Li Shu herself, however, was the woman assigned as her food taster. The taster wore a faint smile. It was subtle, almost invisible, but something about it immediately triggered alarm within Mao's instincts. That expression did not belong on someone serving a potentially dangerous meal. At once, Mao understood she had noticed something she truly wished she had not. Nearby, Li Haku carefully avoided looking toward the food tasters altogether. The idea that one of them might suddenly collapse from poison clearly made him uncomfortable. Yet when someone mentioned an unusually fearless taster, curiosity eventually overcame him. He glanced over. To his surprise, the woman enthusiastically eating the tested food turned out to be Mao. Even stranger, she looked delighted. For a brief moment,
Idiot. Of course not.
I'm just eager to be a better taster.
After you ran off without any difficulty, someone doubted the soup contained poison and decided to try it.
Surely there's no one that stupid.
A minister. Now the party's become a whole huge incident.
Here, it's an emetic agent. Give him this. I made it strong enough to turn anyone's stomach inside out.
Isn't that also a poison?
Is that a new hairpin? So, the eunuchs get them too? His collar's disheveled, plus his normal sparkle is gone. Was he absent because he was indecently engaged elsewhere? Right now, he's acting his age more than usual. Or rather, he looks quite a bit younger. I kind of prefer him like this. Ugh.
guess you're feeling better now. Who attempted to poison concubine Gyokyo?
On that subject, there are parties I'd like to speak with.
Name them.
If you would, invite the virtuous consort Lady Lishu.
Master Jinshi, always happy to be of service to you.
My apologies for asking you to such an inelegant place. But this lady in waiting, she wanted to have a word with you.
Well, what is it?
Pardon me. As I thought.
Lihaku almost envied her ability to enjoy food so openly during such tense circumstances. Then everything changed. After calmly finishing the dish, Ma Mao announced without hesitation that it was poisoned. Shock rippled across the banquet hall. The words shattered the elegant atmosphere instantly, especially because the toin Ted dish had been served to Gyokuyu. Panic spread among attendants and officials alike while conversations erupted in confusion. Before anyone could fully react, Ma Mao abruptly rushed from the hall. Jin Shi, who had finally appeared and witnessed her strange departure, immediately followed after her. Outside, away from the eyes of the banquet guests, Ma Mao struggled desperately to control herself. The poison had affected her in an unusual way. Rather than fear or pain, she felt exhilaration. Her pulse raced with dangerous excitement as though her body itself had awakened beneath the toxin's influence. She understood perfectly well how inappropriate such a reaction would appear to others, which was exactly why she had fled the banquet so suddenly. Concerned for her safety, Jin Shi quickly escorted her toward the medical office. Ma Mao insisted she was fine and explained that she had already expelled the poison from her body. In truth, part of her regretted doing so. The opportunity to study the toxin further had tempted her enormously. Still, she understood the danger well enough not to indulge herself completely. Then, in a request that immediately irritated Jin Shi, she casually asked whether any poisoned food remained available for examination. For a second, genuine annoyance crossed his face. He soon regained composure and informed her that after her sudden accusation, the head attendant had personally tested the dish to verify her claim. That attendant now lay in critical condition. Ma Mao wasted no time. She immediately retrieved a medicine she had prepared earlier and explained that it would induce vomiting, allowing the poison to be expelled before permanent damage occurred. While speaking, she noticed Jin Shi's appearance more carefully. His clothing looked slightly disordered compared to his usual immaculate presentation, and he now wore a new hairpin. The details briefly sparked Mao Mao's curiosity. Perhaps he had been occupied elsewhere during the banquet. Perhaps some private engagement had delayed his appearance.
Is it that you can't eat fish?
What is wrong with her arm?
Some people. There are foods they can't eat. Like me, for instance. My body can't handle buckwheat.
But poison you have no problem consuming?
Leave me alone. Trust me, I tried to build up a tolerance. But I couldn't. Every time it made my throat swell, and breathing became difficult. Even the smallest portions caused rashes, so adjusting the amounts was difficult and healing took a long time. That is what it means to be unable to eat something. By the way, how is your stomach feeling, Lady Lishu? I can get you a laxative.
How did you figure it out?
The food at the garden party. It obviously was prepared by the rear palace chefs. However, the vinegar dish contained a different ingredient. Someone made an error, and Lady Gyokyo's dish ended up getting switched with yours by mistake.
I see.
You can't eat mackerel, correct? It's not merely about liking or disliking certain foods. This time it's lucky you only broke out in hives. It could have resulted in labored breathing or far worse. And to feed her the fish knowingly would be the same thing as poisoning her. Remind me, you're her food taster, right?
Yes, I am.
I've made instructions. What to do in case of an emergency. Of course, It's best if it never comes to that. Please take a look. They're not difficult to follow. However, should you fail even once to remain vigilant, a situation may occur.
But there was no time to dwell on such matters. Once they reached Jin Shi's office, he asked the question weighing heavily on everyone's mind. Who had poisoned Gyokuyu's food? Mao Mao did not answer immediately. Instead, she requested that Li Shu and her food taster be brought to the room. When the two finally arrived, Mao Mao gently lifted Li Shu's sleeve and revealed a rash spreading visibly across the girl's skin. The explanation followed calmly. Li Shu, she realized earlier during the banquet, suffered from a seafood allergy. Drawing from her own experiences, Mao Mao explained how certain foods could trigger violent bodily reactions. Buckwheat, for example, caused her own throat to tighten dangerously. In severe cases, allergic reactions could escalate into breathing failure or cardiac arrest. The symptoms appearing on Li Shu matched those reactions precisely. Because palace meals were prepared under careful supervision, Mao Mao concluded that the dish itself had likely been altered from its usual recipe. Since Gyokuyu regularly ate the same meals as the emperor without issue, it became highly probable that the servings intended for the two consorts had accidentally been switched. Mao Mao then turned toward Li Shu's food taster. Her tone remained composed, but the warning beneath her words carried unmistakable weight. Serving seafood to someone with a known allergy, especially within the palace, could easily become equivalent to attempted murder. Even if the current symptoms remained mild, a stronger exposure might have killed Li Shu before physicians could respond. The room fell silent as the implications settled over everyone present. Jin Shi listened carefully to every detail, though one part of the situation continued bothering him. Why had Mao Mao specifically insisted that Li Shu's food taster be summoned as well? Mao Mao answered vaguely. She claimed she merely wanted the woman to understand how dangerous the incident truly had been. But Jin Shi immediately sensed that explanation was incomplete. There was still something Mao Mao had not said aloud. So he asked the question directly. Was Li Shu the real target from the beginning? For several seconds, Mao Mao remained silent. Then she finally gave her answer carefully, measuring each word. If none of the other dishes had been poisoned, then yes. The intended victim had most likely been Li Shu all along.
No physician can remedy. The results could prove lethal. So take care, and never ever forget that. That should scare her enough.
What was that about?
Please, I'm of lowly birth. It's not right for you to touch me.
You're the only one who has ever used that excuse.
That's just because everyone else is being nice to you. Anyway, I have to report to Lady Gyokyo.
Hold it. Why did you request that the food taster be present as well?
Whatever do you mean?
Don't play dumb. You asked me to bring her.
Simply to tell her what to be mindful of.
Meaning, the servers are the ones responsible for the error.
A mere lady-in-waiting wouldn't know.
At the very least, answer this. The virtuous consort. She was the target, right?
If we assume none of the other dishes were poisoned.
I see.
What a day.
So the matter with the wooden tablets, do you think the two events are somehow related? Her lady-in-waiting. I noticed she didn't have any burns on her.
If not her, then who?
Next time, homecoming.
Alright, everyone. That is for today's reaction on Anime Sensei Reaction. Thank you for so much for watching and spending your time with me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notification so you won't miss any the reaction. Let me know your true favorite moment and break down in the comment, because I always love reading what you guys think. We still have a lot of amazing anime moments, crazy battle, emotional scene, and unexpected treat coming soon on the channel. I truly appreciate all the support, and I can't wait to watch more anime together with you all. Take care everyone, and I will see you in the next reaction video.